Sewer surfing.
Hey Google, set an alarm for 30 minutes.
You got it. Your alarm's set for 8:44.
Hey Google, set a timer for 20 minutes.
Sure, 20 minutes. And we're starting now.
Hey Google, set an alarm for 15 minutes.
Alright, your alarm's set for 8:57 a.m.
Da-da-da-da-dun. Hey Google, set that timer for 12 minutes.
Alright, 12 minutes. And we're starting now.
Vous aurez pas pu m'aider? Fuck! What the fuck?
Last year, I made a video about the history of Super Mario Sunshine World Record speedruns. I exclusively covered the most obligatory and competitive category, any %, beating the game as fast as possible with no restrictions outside of cheating. But of course, additional categories offer different requirements for their completion. For instance, if the only way to speedrun A Link to the Past was through its currently 1.5 minute long any %, it would become stale pretty quickly. Other categories introduce fresh ways of speedrunning a game and offer significant replay value. So, what is the most notable of Mario Sunshine's alternative categories? Well, that would be 100%, currently referred to as 120 shines.
Use that item yet.
For those who've experienced Mario Sunshine during its initial release, the idea of 100%ing the game was mystifying. This would surely be impossible without some sort of strategy guide or online walkthrough. How many shines are in this game anyway? I mean, this GameFAQs walkthrough says there's 120, but I can't help but notice all these rumors about a 121st shine sprites.
I've heard about getting a bonus shine. Defeat Mage, 5 HP left. Is this true? Because if it isn't, somebody's busted.
In the early 2000s, these kind of hoaxes were rampant, and a supposed 121st shine sprite was no exception. That being said, there are only 95 physically collectible shines, and one that you obtain from defeating Bowser. So where did the other 24 come from? Scattered throughout Isle Delfino are 240 blue coins. For every 10 blue coins you trade with the Tanuki family, you receive a shine spread. Nintendo had the foresight to allow you to trade in all your blue coins at the same time, effectively collecting 24 shines in a single purchase. This immediately became a staple for speedruns. Don't bother trading in your blue coins until you have all of them. Just to be certain that you didn't miss anything, Nintendo will reward you with a postcard. But let's be honest, getting all 120 shine sprites in a single segment speedrun was just a pipe dream. No one was actually gonna do it. Then one day, someone did it. The year was 2007. YouTube looked something like this.
That's Mama Luigi to you, Mario!
And a player named Dudan became the trailblazer for Mario Sunshine 100% when SDA approved his single segment run of 5 hours and 10 minutes. Tackling this titan of a speedrun was purely a solo effort over the course of many months. He claims to have spent over a week coming up with ideas to minimize the travel time between blue coins, and even made maps of some of the levels to help visualize things. His strategies were mostly basic and relatively safe, but some of his movement was surprisingly ahead of its time, like performing windmill wall kicks in Bianco Hills episode 2. There were also strikingly archaic strats, like his method for Pianta Village episode 4, in which he goes across the stage, places a barrel by the swimming pool entrance, runs back, then makes the chain chomp run into the barrel? Okay. One reason in particular solidifies Dudan's run as a legendary speedrun in Sunshine history: 0 deaths.
The thing that amazes me most about this entire run is that I did not die a single time. I've recorded several runs and I gave myself an allowance of 5 deaths. However, every other run I recorded broke that limit. My second best run had 7 deaths. I just didn't feel comfortable submitting a run with so many deaths, so I kept trying. Somehow,
Oh, thanks for the follow,
I
man.
didn't die a single time this time. That's something to be proud of in and of itself.
Every secret stage has an additional red coin secret upon re-entry that allows you to obtain a second shine sprite. That would mean putting up with completing the slot machines and tile flipping in the casino twice. Also, while this amazing skip directly to the banana platform while riding Yoshi was known, it still meant having to ride one of the boats at a snail's pace to access the lily pad secret. These flow killers, combined with the length of the run, made for a daunting category. Back in early 09, Theoradel finished his segmented any percent run of 154. Later that same year, he decided to also tackle 100%, and continuing with the segmented format only made sense. He put in the work to make sure that this was a masterpiece, utilizing 43 segments and some tweaks to Dudan's routing. His run clocked in at 4:16:48. Theoradel cut nearly an hour off the single segment record, submitted his run to Speed Demo's archive, and got
rejected.
The horror.
Apparently this run wasn't quite good enough for Maikuyama or some verifiers or referees or however SDO works. Basically, it came down to the fact that standards for segmented runs were much higher than those done in a single segment. The most common complaint? Segments 14, encapsulating the entirety of Pinna Park. Arguably the most random and difficult stage in the whole run. That's pretty ambitious compared to his segmenting of individual episodes of Bianco Hills.
Part that sticks out like a fat chick in a Victoria's Secret catalog is the balloon shooting at the end. The runner misses a ton of shots. I think it's because it's at the end of a long segment, but I believe he needs to practice this a lot more. It's awful.
Okay, well, let me vouch for Theoradel. In the case of Pinna 8, where precision is a huge factor, there was no way to prevent the rocket from firing higher or lower than usual. This gave every shot a pseudo-random element. The other glaring mistake was forgetting to turn Yoshi orange before trying to access the Pinna 6 secret level. Whoops. I contacted Theoradel about why he didn't use more segments for Pinna Park. He stated that when he was making this speedrun, he felt that the time added for additional movement from the default plaza spawn back to the Pinna cannon wasn't worth it. Though in hindsight, it was silly to emphasize that small time loss so much. That basically covers the early history of 100% Sunshine runs. Heading into 2011, a more modern scene and the era of live streaming speedruns began to emerge. Discoveries like the Pinna 1 cutscene skips, Yoshi skip, and Casino skip were added to the arsenal, along with one other major skip. Back in August of 2009, Nintendo Gatemer discovered how to skip the boats required to reach Lilypad Secret. You can clip through this building, then jump across the out-of-bounds plane until you reach the point where you can clip back in and walk below the water to the island. This trick must have fallen under the radar, as it wasn't used in Theoradel's segmented run. However, it is very possible that both of the world records set in 2011 did use this trick. There will never be any way of knowing, because both of these records, a 436 by FaxV2 and a 432 by Konku, don't have any available video. These runs were likely streamed on Nico Live, a Japanese streaming website, but it seems that neither of these recordings were archived. 120 shines would remain untouched for quite some time, until a year later, Inkiller, aka Inkitten, gave it a shot. Hailing from the Netherlands, Inkiller spent a few weeks making his own route, using Dudan's SDA run as a baseline. He achieved a 425 on March 3rd of 2012. The philosophy behind Inkiller's route was pretty clear. Complete whatever's closest to you while maximizing how many shines you get from a single level visit. It's also crucial to complete Pinna Park early on, because unlocking Yoshi is directly tied to Episode 4. The blue coins from bees, butterflies, and the clamber located on this wall all required Yoshi for their attainment. 100 coin shines can be completed in whatever episode you so choose, but some are better than others. They do force you out of the level, unlike Mario 64 where you can collect a 100 coin star and then continue on from there. To make matters worse, neither red or blue coins count toward your total. However, it is definitely worth collecting blue coins along the way whenever possible. Inkiller switched the episode for Gelato 100 coins from 8 to 2, and also changed Serena 100 coins from 3 to 4 to take advantage of the slot machines. Only a week later, Konku attained his second world record time of 4:21. He completed everything in the plaza requiring Yoshi in one go. This removes the need to find a fruit for the Yoshi egg located next to the left bell tower. Another improvement to the plaza was a faster way to reach the sewer blue coin near the Corona entrance. By swimming up and down near this waterfall, you can bonk and end up in the sewer section below. The following week, Konku cut a little less than a minute off his time and got a particularly dank world record. An up-and-coming Japanese player named The Chicken brought a lot to the table. He improved the record by over 9 minutes with a run that had a total of 9 deaths in it, 4 of which were from the notoriously difficult Shell Secret. This was the first world record to include any sort of blue coin text box skip, which he performed by having this blue coin land on him during the Shine Get cutscene. While it may only appear for a half second if you're not using a memory card and mash through it, that's about 2 minutes dedicated solely to these text boxes. The Chicken was the first person to do a boatless pachinko entry, skip breaking the blocks in Serena 2 Reds, and utilize this precise wall kick for reaching the gold bird in Noki Bay. There was a very significant discovery made between the time of the Chicken's record and Endkiller's 409.52 that he would go on to set in September. Up until mid-2012, people assumed that the only way to unlock the turbo and rocket nozzles in Alpino Plaza was to defeat both of the corresponding Shadow Marios. Well, it turns out that as long as you can climb the Shine Gates without the rocket nozzle, these Shadow Marios can be entirely ignored. Once you unlock Corona Mountain from defeating Shadow Mario in all 7 stages, you can enter and exit Corona to find that you've unlocked these nozzles automatically. Runners previously chose to lead a turbo unlock into completing the Goldbird, and a rocket unlock into doing the Lighthouse. Endkiller took something into consideration at a much earlier date than I honestly expected anyone to. And this is where routing gets complicated. Event cutscenes. Splitting up levels in such a way that you revisit them at least once equals more time spent moving between levels, which equals slow, right? Well, not necessarily. Every time something new is available in the Alpino Plaza, a short cutscene will play. Skipping this cutscene as soon as possible makes it last for 3.1 seconds. There's a few methods of minimizing these cutscenes in early game, such as opening up Gelato right when it's unlocked. This will mean that no cutscenes will play after any additional shines you collect until you reach 10, at which point the event cutscene for unlocking Pinna Park will begin to play. The granddaddy of skipping event cutscenes is that once you've exited Corona Mountain, these cutscenes will never play again. You've effectively reached Delfino Plaza's final state. Endkiller realized this and split up most stages into 2 or 3 parts. He entered Corona for the first time at only 67 shines rather than the 90 seen in the Chicken's 411. This meant a time save of over a minute before subtracting the time lost from additional plaza movements and some extra shine selection menu scrolling. Having had 2 sizable deaths in Bianca 6 Reds and even losing his Yoshi in Rico 8, it was clear to Iced Windowsill that the record was very improvable. He felt that the 100% record was, quote, free, and wanted to prove it by beating it himself, and maybe even spark a friendly rivalry in the process. One notable strat that Ice developed is the first ship cycle route in Pinna 3. He heads directly to the first moving ship, and then later catches this high up blue coin when the ship does a complete rotation. He also figured out that you can spray this M while waiting for the Rico polluted piranha plant to reset itself.
Like a bomb!
No reckon.
And then, faster than you could even say Shine Get, the Chicken cracked any hopes of a friendly competition when he dropped a speedrun of 4 hours flat. I know that I'm focusing a lot on the progression of routing in this video, but in all honesty, large improvements in execution and avoiding large mistakes can go a long way. None of these former records should be understated, however. This category undoubtedly needed people that were willing to get the ball rolling. Samurai Man picked up Mario Sunshine in July of 2012. In a matter of 2 months, he achieved a world record and the first sub 4 hour 100% speedrun.
And that's it, guys. New world record.
This could only mean two things. Samu is a god gamer, but more importantly, 120 Shines had a lot of potential for improvements beyond what anyone could have previously imagined. Samu's route might have looked good on paper, but failed to take event cutscenes into account. Not that it mattered a whole lot, since his level of execution was clearly unknown. He took a counterclockwise path for the Yoshi-specific blue coins to end up by the roof necessary for clipping out of bounds. Unfortunately, this might have happened. He incorporated a strat found by Hidden Power 13 for the 100 coins of Noki Bay, a very flashy and effective way of getting from the ruins all the way to where the shine spawns. Lastly, he optimized fruit ladies by obtaining durians and pineapples at the same time.
Take notes, by the way. No, that's not a pineapple.
The chicken kept up the competition by narrowly beating Samu's PB, but this would be a short-lived victory. Samurai Man worked his way up from a 137 to a 134 in any percent, and after losing his 120 Shines record, he decided to really go in on the category. He laid his sights on sub 3 hours and 50 minutes, and set one of the most incredible streaks in SMS speedrunning history. October 23rd, October 24th, October 25th, and last but most, October 26th.
New world record, guys. Again.
4 days of new world records in a row, and over 10 minutes cut. He was the first person to implement Yoshi Skip into this category. The original sidestep setup was considered too inconsistent to be done so late into a speedrun. Not just once, but twice for the red coin variation. Samu found, from watching Mug 1991 do attempts, an alternative setup, back jump. He learned back jump, and never looked back. This was the first record to get a 35-second in-game time on Penta 2 Reds, reaching an earlier disappearing platform cycle.
First cycle.
He also had a solid grasp of maneuvering this clay boat in Corona Mountain. 120 Shines requires mastery of these controls because of the 9 blue coins surrounding the final platform. In case you haven't experienced this boat before,
the controls are mutilated.
and if you so much as scrape by something, well, you're toast. 2012 ended off with a 343 from Samurai Man. He may have solidified his lead, but the chicken would return to light a fire under his ass, coming within 20 seconds of the record on April 21st. Samu decided to make some updates to his approach. Not only did he remake his route, but he purchased the NTSCJ, or Japanese version of the game. While only a minor advantage for any percent, NTSCJ has a huge advantage for 120 Shines. Rolling the watermelon in Gelato 8 was a thing of the past because of a Japanese-only method of Gelato Beach Skip discovered in 2012 by Mug. Furthermore, the Japanese version loads Delfino Plaza over half a second faster, and as you can imagine, there are a lot of these load times. The downsides of NTSCJ pale in comparison, with the stricter requirements for cleaning off Serena Beach, and the lack of some of the fruits located around Delfino Plaza. You may remember that Endkiller put a huge emphasis on skipping event cutscenes. It's true, Endkiller's route was ahead of its time. It was essentially lost in translation due to the stark uprise in both the Chicken and Samurai Man. Even though a lot of routing progress was lost, Samu made some beneficial steps in his 34110. He unlocks Rico and Gelato as soon as they're available, and enters Pinna Park with only 12 shines. Samu beat his time by 2 seconds, but after a few more days of grinding, he achieved the first sub 3 hour 40 minute time.
GG.
It was a 338 despite some large mistakes. Samu briefly left the category to pursue a better 80% time, but there was a new European runner quickly on the rise.
Oh, avoids both needles.
Checks it.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
nice.
Stalix know what's up.
Still he knows his edge card.
The Danish lord himself, Stelzig. On June 21st, Stelzig swept up a 3rd place time using a similar route to Samurai Man. He even lost a good 50 seconds from missing a Yoshi skip, a common occurrence when going for the precise sidestep method. Stelzig knew that he was capable of being number 1, and that's exactly what he achieved on July 30th when he got a world record by over 2 minutes, a 336.22. Samu's new 80% record of 131.08 was timely, as it allowed him to start grinding 120 shines again. Sadly for Stelzig, his record would be very short-lived, as Samu would reclaim the record on literally the same day. Neither of the last 2 records were archived, as both players knew they had so much potential for improvement. Stelzig went back to the drawing board and changed many things, down to the very first movements after arriving in Elfino Plaza. With a clip behind the fruit stand, he collected these 2 sewer blue coins from the lower out-of-bounds plane. He was able to collect the blue coin below the bell tower right before the statue rising cutscene. With this, he wouldn't lose any time when luring Shadow Mario back to the statue to open up Bianco Hills. Speaking of Bianco Hills, he collected one of the blue coins in episode 1 while theoretically not losing any time, using a spin spray for the second hit on the polluted piranha plants, then collecting this blue coin in the water right before the cutscene starts. He mitigated some luck in Pinna 2 by saving the furthest back blue coin for later during Pinna 100 coins. By dropping Yoshi between this basket and the wall, you can clip your way into the basket. Stelzig, being the crafty man he is, recycled that fruit stand clip as a better way to get to the islands for Lily Pad secret. This of course reverted the blue coins back to a clockwise order of collection. All of these techniques are demonstrated in his new record that he would achieve a little over a week after Samu's 334.
That was a bad ending, but whatever, man. Your turn, Samu.
In a speedrun this long, slip-ups are inevitable, but minimizing mistakes is the key to getting a good run. And to get a good run, Samu did, 1 week after Stelzig's 332.
Sub 330 happened. Cool.
The first sub 330 speedrun using a few of Stelzig's findings.
Your turn, Stelzig.
With the exception of the intentional death in Corona, Samu didn't die a single time. I'd like to say he was the first one to do this, but oh yeah, that's right. Stelzig might have stirred up some competition, but Samurai Man was nothing short of a formidable force. 2 months later, and after officially changing the name of the category from 100% to 120 shines, Stelzig did the unthinkable and tied Samu's record to the second.
Is that a tie?
Minor improvements include a new setup to rockets into the turbo nozzle area of Noki Bay, a precise rocket shortcut up to the tightrope in Bianco 8, and a spin jump off the watermelons rather than setting up a water slide in Serena 2 Reds, allowing him to get a 103. He untied the record by 3 seconds a couple weeks later. The ultimate goal, in his eyes, would be at least a 325, and that would almost come to fruition on December 16th. Previously, to pay for the return to airstrip, people would awkwardly collect coins in the main sewer section. Instead, Stelzig entered this sewer after exiting Corona, then collected the line of 10 coins en route to Boxgame. Reminder that your total coins carry over after collecting a Delfino Shine. With only 1 death in Gelato 1 Reds, Stelzig managed to get a 326.35. But that wouldn't be the last record of 2013. Samurai Man was getting pretty burnt out from his push for a sub 130 any% time, and wanted to keep his rival in check. After a quick warm-up run, he went on to set a record with the very next attempt. However, this wouldn't come without some adversity. From Pianta 4 onwards, Samu experienced what is referred to as sound glitch, only known to happen on the Japanese version.
No, not the music glitch, dude.
NTSCJ is version 1.0 of Sunshine and has notoriously buggy audio. Shine Get cutscene music goes missing and never comes back until you hard reset your console. The red coin secret music also goes missing, but there are 2 other side effects that are hazardous for speedruns. The game has a rare chance of crashing whenever you collect a shine sprite, and whenever you die, the respawn load time takes over 5 seconds longer. This was an unavoidable time loss on the intentional death used in Corona Blues. Luckily, when it was all said and done, his game didn't crash.
Where's the crash, dude? This way.
At the tail end of January, Stelzig got the record back from Samu once more with a 325.46. I don't have much to comment on, except this run had some serious upwarp swag on Gelato 1.
Gelato Beach skip? Oh my god.
Toval would completely shake up any % on February 21st with the discovery of Gelato Beach Skip, or GBS. While the time save was obvious for any %, people were initially uncertain as to how it would fit into 120 shines. True, it was definitely advantageous for those playing on non-Japanese versions, since everyone can skip the watermelon now, but for world record contenders already playing on NCSCJ, they simply stuck with Yoshi GBS. An unexpected breakthrough resulted when the unimaginable happened to Snarky Bobo during one of his runs.
No way! Dude.
Somehow, Snarky Bobo defeated this flamethrower without using Yoshi. No one had any idea how it was done, and attempts were made to recreate this. But it wasn't until a couple weeks later that it was finally understood by a top-level Japanese player named Yamato. Jumping into the ceiling of any sewer affects Mario's hitbox in a way that leaves two different side effects. Durians launch across the stage with even the lightest of taps, and certain enemies can be killed just by touching them. Most importantly, clambers, or spiders, as this trick was coined, spider glitch. This saves about 30 seconds from both skipping this extra walking with Yoshi and easily killing this clamber rather than dealing with the terrible hit detection. Stelzig now collected the sewer coins from out of bounds after knocking down Shadow Mario. This negates part of the time you would normally spend waiting for him to run back to the statue. He achieved two more records, a 3:25:27 on March 25th and a 3:24:40 on May 13th. To actually use Spider Glitch. The slower progression of 120 shines around this time was largely a result of the any percent surge that GBS caused. It was easy to believe that the best 120 route had been solved. Well, the same man who solved Spider Glitch would prove that this sentiment couldn't be further from the truth. Yamata had been on the cusp of world record times in both any percents and 120 shines for a while. In June of 2014, he made his debut in the spotlight using a unique route that visited Piazza Village before going to Pinna Park. This doesn't make any sense until you factor in something I haven't even discussed yet. Whenever you enter the pipe to go to Piazza Village before you've unlocked Pinna Park, it doesn't play the animation for entering the pipe. He saved a good chunk of time from skipping 10 of these animations, but still had to revisit Piazza Village later in the run for the 100 coin shine. Most levels were still completed in one visit, but he only did Rico episodes 1 through 7 before Corona Blues. To say that Yamata was creative would be an understatement. Yamata finished this run in 3:23:23. This stumped Stelzig for a while, but on July 22nd, he managed to cut a minute off the record. He continued using his own route, since Western players often questioned if Yamata's route was even faster. Stelzig claimed he could see himself getting a sub 320 someday, but he was content with his 3:22:29 for the time being. The record remained uncontested for quite some time, since all of the top runners were either focused on any percents or not actively playing. Enter a not-so-top runner, Average Trey, aka me. Back in early 2013, 120 shines was the first category I learned when I picked up Mario Sunshine for a number of reasons. By the time I actually started streaming attempts in mid-2014, I was grinding my ass off to get a sub 330. Paperario and I had a rivalry between who the better American 120 player was, and that rivalry, combined with my passion for playing Sunshine, had me practicing for hours on end. When I smashed that awful sub 330 barrier with a 327, I quickly realized something. I'm 5 minutes off the world record, and only 1 minute off the person who mainly inspired me in the first place. Just as soon as I thought my journey was over, it had truly just begun. In October of 2014, I put in countless hours of practice offline, and streamed attempts whenever I could. My dedication would finally pay off on October 24th.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. World record, suck my dick.
That's nice, but let's really analyze this run. For starters, I was still playing on NCSCU. I had no choice but to base a route around the standard GBS setup, and this gave me an idea. By initially doing only 2 levels required to unlock Corona, I could avoid event cutscenes for the other 9 levels by revisiting Gelato later in the run. On top of this, I could easily combine Gelato 8 with the Blender Blue Coin by bringing over 2 coconuts. The This run had a ton of Pianta Village improvements, thanks in large part to a couple members of the good people. Capelon and Skinny Cola wanted to make the most optimal route possible for 120 shines, a very ambitious task, resulting in completing only one of the levels, Pianta Village. The basis was to obtain more blue coins during Pianta 8 and still catch the second fluff cycle, since each fluff comes around every 23.5 seconds. Using these improvements to save 18.5 seconds, on top of getting the Ramel cycle, and the early spray on the hidden shine, made for a very solid Pianta segment. Oh, and Yoshi skip was no longer an issue since the Help Me Your Pup setup came around. Thanks, Huff. A German player named Wilco found a peculiar way to avoid the intentional death at the end of Corona Blues. For whatever reason, a save text box and a could not save text box behave a bit differently. Notice how, in both of these clips, I hovered into the blue coin. And watch what happens when I continue to hold the R button. By inserting a memory card into your console, you are granted the ability to continue hovering out of a save prompt. With this knowledge in mind, you can hover into the blue coin, then hover to one of the spires to exit area. This is all because the game doesn't allow you to pause while Mario is airborne. The Coconut Lady was the last thing I did before trading in my blue coins. It turns out it's impossible to bonk into sewer walls when using the turbo nozzle. Yamata saved a minute on my time merely 10 days later. He made a slight improvement to Rico Harbor by collecting only one of the blue coins over the water in episode 2, and collecting the other blue coin during episode 6. Interestingly, Yamata was the only person to never unlock the rocket nozzle in Bianco Hills, but he instead used Yoshi to gain the necessary heights to reach this bluebird. As always, Yamata's runs had an admirable level of creativity that anyone could learn from. The week-long charity marathon of speedruns, Awesome Games Done Quick 2015, was coming up, and it was planned that Stelzig would be running 120 shines there. In a sudden turn of events, a conflict arose and Stelzig was no longer able to go, so he asked me if I was able to take his place. I jumped on the opportunity and convinced my parents to let me fly alone to Herndon, Virginia at the age of 19. This was the main spark of my continued grinding of 120 shines. In this run that I performed a couple weeks after Yamata's record, I included the Piantissimo Goodbye cutscene skip. By standing in this Pianta's talking range, you can override Piantissimo's 9 text boxes with the Pianta's 2 text boxes. It's kind of an anomaly in that it only works when certain parts of the game are unlocked. Despite a poor beginning, the last hour more than made up for it.
That time! Yes! And USA has got this. We got this by the ass.
Fast forward 3 days, and my cockiness would quickly be met with a convincing bop from Lord Stelzig, the first time a sub-320 run had been completed. This was the first 120 shines record to incorporate Honey Skip, which Stelzig started using ever since he found his setup. Essentially, the Penna unlocked cutscene can be skipped by dying on the same frame that you enter it. Stelzig's run even had exceptionally bad luck on the fruit machine in Rico episode 8, getting the durian on the 8th try. Every time you hit one of these buttons, you have a 1 in 5 chance of getting a durian, which Yoshi absolutely needs. 120 Shines has the luck factors for many percents with the addition of Fruit Machine, Pin-A-2 Bullet Bills, and the most annoying enemies in the game, Burbs. Stelzig reigned supreme, but I still had a marathon run to prepare for. As if it was a belated Christmas present, an exceptional PD Piranha and Bullet Bills came around.
That was like 9.5 out of 10 mark.
I needed to capitalize on this run.
There it is, folks. 317. I skipped 319. I skipped 318. I got 317. And it's not even the Japanese version. What the fuck? I'm a legend.
I had no intentions of improving my level routes, but I did know one thing. I should probably purchase the Japanese version, which is exactly what I did shortly after AGDQ. I finally experienced what could best be referred to as
the JPO-penis.
On a side note, the timing standard universally changed from console resets to file select to establish an official standard on the new speedrun.com. You may have noticed my inclination to call Pinna Park Episode 8 the worst mission. This level has just always been such an issue, as I addressed with Therodel, since the shots always go higher or lower than you intend in a seemingly random way. Well, I wouldn't consider it the worst mission for too much longer, thanks to a finding from Versace VMan3000. He uploaded a video on February 5th titled Straight Shooting Technique for Mecha Bowser, DM Shot 100% Consistent. DM Shot being a discovery from the Dark Musician for the Mecha Bowser fight.
This is a technique I found on January 2nd, 2015 for Mecha Bowser that shoots the rockets perfectly straight. What's being done is that I'm holding analog R down entirely, then pressing digital R to shoot the rocket. This technique works for Pinna 8 as well. Enjoy!
It was now no longer far-fetched to execute Pinna 8 in only one roller coaster cycle. Wilco and I labbed a better route for Rico Harbor 100 coins in episode 6. While Yamata did Rico 600s back in 2014, we made updates inspired by a route that Sided Williams and Ice Windowsill made for SMS Bingo. This includes collecting all of the coins over the water and skipping most of the luck-based crane coins. I also moved Serena 100 coins to episode 5 so that I could skip more of the annoying torches in favor of more casino coins.
40.
After an insanely good Bianco segment, thanks in part to the JPO penis, this run clocked in at 3:15:22.
I don't know how I did it, but there you go, a low 3:15.
Coincidentally, this was the 1-year anniversary of Gelato Beach Skip. Sided Williams theorized a faster way to handle the linked triangles in Gelato Beach. By obtaining these coins while fighting the Wiggler in episode 3, it could definitely save some time. We both tested this extensively and came up with a solution, but it was gonna be tricky until some further refinement. Yamata adapted half of this strategy when he returned to 120 shines in March. He got the second triangle during Wiggler, but handled the first triangle while on the way to the coconut tree for GBS. He had some inventive ways to get blue coins, like the waterfall during Piazza 1, one of the linked X's during Rico 2 leading into the Looper Race entry, and swimming down to this coin in Noki 4 and then entering the loading zone for Ely Mouth Dentist. He reached the first possible fluff cycle in Piazza 8 by getting more blue coins in other episodes, and it turns out this is actually faster. Sorry, Cap and Kenny. He also split up Noki into 2 segments, leaving 3 levels for after he traded in blue coins. He ended the run with movement from Noki Bay to Corona Mountain. I thought my lead was pretty safe in this category, but on March 19th, Yamata completed a run of 3:15:06. Before Discord came Skype, and in early 2015, Skype groups were the medium of communication for the SMS community. At some point, a sub-125 any percentimes group was formed, but due to its elitist nature and people just finding it silly, it converted into a new group entirely, the 120 Brotherhood, consisting of a few individuals who felt that 120 shines deserved more attention, and seeked to further optimize the route. This group was especially active in early March, when members rediscovered the importance of event cutscenes. Dutch J made a lot of useful comparison videos, providing much needed evidence that it's faster to save the extraneous shines in every level for later, apart from Piazza Village. Endkiller's 2012 route may have been lost in the sands of time, but at least people eventually got back on track. So now I did Piazza in 1 segment, Rico, Gelato, Serena, and Noki in 2 segments, Pinna in 3, and Bianco in 5. This may seem like overkill, but I would no longer have event cutscenes after collecting a mere 53 shines. Some other interesting additions include handling the linked X graffiti in Rico 1 during the Looper fight to cut out some of the wait time before phase 2, and spraying the fire guy during the transition from Noki to Gelato. He has a set location depending on what levels are unlocked, and always runs around this area in post-Corona Nofino Plaza. I got a new record with the new route on March 27th.
I skipped 3:14. I skipped 3:14.
Large improvements were made to Serena Beach thanks to an up-and-coming player, Shadow Mario 27. On June 24th, he made a route for 100 coins in Serena 7. While Episode 7 may not have access to the casino coins, SM27 cleverly collects the majority of the Hotel Delfino's blue coins along the way, including the attic, previously done in Episode 8, and 3 of the 4 linked pair blue coins. While the 100 coin level itself may have been a bit slower, it significantly cut down on time for Episodes 7 and 8. As for the casino blue coins, well, they could just be collected on the way to both Serena 4 and Serena 4 Reds. All of these changes to Serena Beach are present in a record that Yamata set on July 5th, a 3:13:02. He adopted some stuff that the 120 Brotherhood came up with, including Pianta in one segment, which is surprising since he knew about the 2-second pipe entry cutscenes. That's not to say that his creativeness wouldn't shine through, because, well, just watch how he gets these sewer coins. Yeah, and then he led this into Coconut Lady, then backtracked to the sewer coin you would normally get on the way to the islands, and all I'm gonna say is, this is slower. He did have an efficient method of collecting the 10 coins for the airstrip return when leaving from Pinna Park. Oh, and he improved Banana Lady by a good 2 seconds per banana by using precise throws from a closer awning. The Pinna 3 first ship cycle, introduced by Iced Windowsill back in 2012, was later updated by DutchJ. Now, the blue coins in the clam and under the stairs were collected during Pinna 7. This was made even faster by manipulating Shadow Mario to run to the right. Sided Williams suggested collecting the pillar coins in Noki 8 rather than Noki 4, which turned out to be faster by catching the second red coin fish formation. Bianco 1 is the only level that the game intentionally allows you to skip by making the shine for Bianco 2 readily available. It is actually faster to do Bianco 1 later in the run, despite having to scroll all the way from episode 8. Doing Bianco 1 later also meant that I could do Gelato 5 early, and easily resets if the blue burbs were not so kind.
3:12:03.
Damn, he saved a whole minute and a second.
Yo.
What? Oh god.
Congratulations, Trey.
Had this record been 4 seconds faster, I would have returned to any percent, as that was the hot category to grind after the recent discovery of early Yoshi go-round. In retrospect, I'm glad that I continued with 120 shines because of what happened a couple weeks later.
Oh my goodness. To quote Capelon from his SGDQ race, I was playing out of my mind.
For a while I knew that sub 310 was possible, but I certainly didn't expect for it to almost happen so soon. I could return to any percent, rest assured that my 310 would remain the record for quite some time. The New Jerseyan Shadow Mario 27 picked up SMS in late 2014. 120 shines was always his main category of interest. He improved at a breakneck rate, from a plus 4-hour time in January to a sub 320 only 6 months later. He made a lot of contributions to 100 coin optimizations, like the aforementioned 100 coins in Serena 7, but also 100 coins in Rico 8 and Gelato 3. Gelato 3 actually has fewer coins overall than 2, but saves time purely from the lack of a required cutscene. The Ocean Blue coins were moved to episode 6, and the Coral Reef red coins were collected while equipped with the turbo nozzle. After the EYG excitement died down, SM27 got a huge 120 shines PV on October 11th that landed him in second place above Yamata. This put a bit of a scare on me, as I wanted to be the first sub 310, preferably before 2016. How hard could that be though? With only 20 seconds to save, surely that will be manageable. Not to mention some other optimizations, including a better Pinna 3 developed by Bouncy Boy, where you ride the first upside down ship cycle to the high up blue coin. Zapika Kirby found single rocket storage on October 22nd, which had a fair share of uses in 120 shines beyond just the ending of Corona Mountain. Sadly, all of my success with breaking records was equally met with failure and frustration.
Some of which I have not seen for a long, long time. One moment.
3:10:19 still stood when
spell
Winter
of
Break came
divination.
around, despite my best efforts. One mistake can kill any promising run, and it's mentally exhausting when it happens over and over again.
What the fuck is this stupid ass game?
On December 21st, I was on good pace out of Corona Blues, which was gradually becoming the midway point for a 120 run. Of course, things began to fall apart in Gelato Beach. Then, after some chokes on Rico Hundreds, awful luck on the Fruit Machine, and falling down the clouds of Corona Mountain, it came down to this.
With the scourge. I did not realize he still lives,
PB,
nor that he
folks.
leads the rot hides in their forays against
New world record.
I know many of his spells, and can help
I'm
concoct
pissed.
a potion
Needless
to
to
counter
say, there was a serious
this
mental
scroll
block that I
back
had
to
to overcome.
Apothecary
Sub 310 would have to
It
wait
has the
until 2016.
incantations needed for
On
the
January 12th, I had another shot at glory, but again, I choked the run in a multitude of ways. It felt like a cruel joke when the run resulted in a 310 flat. I didn't even highlight the live streamed version of this run purely from disappointment. Fast forward one more month, and I would finally catch a break.
Got it?
This is it. Finally. By 5 seconds.
I may have spent 4 months saving 23 seconds in a 3-hour category, but I'd say it was worth it.
Alarm when we're flying.
I don't know, dude. Just gotta follow your dreams.
This is sick.
Yamato returned to 120 shines the following
How
month,
may I be of
including
service?
most of the new improvements and cleaning up the order in which he did Delfino shines. By this point, every top player was doing honey skip on the way to Pinna Park. He also included a few modifications, like getting the 2 M's in Rico 1 in between spraying the linked X's, getting both linked X's in Bianco 5 while waiting for PD to arrive, and opening the ruins in Noki 100 coins by spraying downward from the upper ledge, removing the need to fall down, then wall kick all the way back up. He cut a few seconds off my time on March 29th with a 309.47, but this run had 2 big deaths plus an overthrown banana to boot. 308 was looking extremely viable. He almost surpassed that goal with an incredible run of 308.05. It's as if removing the onus of sub 310 opens the door to optimizing 120 shines much, much further.
Ready yet?
So it's mid-2016, and Gelato 4, the Sandbird is born, is still more or less an auto-scroller. This
How
would
may
no
I be of
longer be the
service?
case, a couple days after Zlapiku tweeted a demonstration of some new rocket nozzle tech. By canceling a rocket with Mario's leaving sidestep animation, you can store as many rockets as you want, which grants the ability to gain infinite height. Yamata found the initial rocket bird strats for 120 shines on July 8th. Unfortunately, storing rockets on the amorphous clouds was too unpredictable, so he utilized the lower rim of the central column to double rocket storage to the 4th blue coin, as well as the top of the column where the final red coin lies. Improvements were quickly made. Wilco suggested spam spraying the 2nd cloud to expand it, making it easier to get to the 3rd cloud. The 2nd best any percent runner at the time, Nindide, figured out how to skip returning to the lower rim a 2nd time. It turns out that rocket storage can be done from clouds if you're on the very edge. Nindide used a single rocket storage combined with a rocket dive to barely reach the top of the column from the final cloud. Then it dawned on me, if rocket storage was now possible from clouds, why return to the rim of the column at all? I found a way to get from the 3rd to 4th cloud by doing a double rocket storage combined with a rocket dive. Sandbird was now roughly 30 seconds faster. Like I said, Nindide was already one of the top any percent players, so he excelled at 120 shines very quickly. He brought many optimizations to the table, paired with new routing that was developed shortly after Yamata's 308, doing Pianta 1 through 7 early. This once again brings back segmenting Pianta and skips 7 of the pipe entry cutscenes, entering Corona at a record low of 46 shines. The first half of 120 shines had essentially become glorified any percent. Yamata was on the right track with collecting this underwater blue coin, then entering the Noki 4 or 8 loading zone, but Dide took this way further. By using a well-known clip on the slope and a downward zip, the game sets the water's surface level to where Mario jumps out of the zip. This, combined with a momentum spin jump plus wall kick, speeds up the collection of this blue coin by over 10 seconds. He also introduced a precise way to instantly clean off graffiti that's located on the ground. By spam spraying on a specific frame of Mario's ground pound, its precision cannot be overstated, often taking 2 or 3 attempts, which still saves time or at least ties normal spraying. One could even say 120 shines was finally getting optimized.
For an assault on Shadowfang, 2 Death Stalkers were sent to the keep to gather intelligence. It has been many days and they have not returned. But we must receive their report if we're to have any hope of a successful attack. So here is your task.
Only a month after the complete progression of Rocketbird, Dide achieved a world record time of 307.37. But I wouldn't stand for it. I came back to 120 shines in mid-July and used the same route as Dide since Pianta 1 through 7 early was now universally agreed to be good. I did, however, reorder a couple levels out of personal preference, late game, Bianco, and Serena. This doesn't waste any time, and it gets difficult levels like Bianco 8 and Bianco 3 Reds out of the way much sooner. I also opted to use Dide's underwater blue coin strat much earlier in the run during Noki 4 rather than 8. For the record, I know that Bouncy Boy only intended this tweet to be a well-deserved compliment to Nindide, but it must have still fired me up somehow, because merely 4 days later I achieved a 306.33. Yes! I felt pretty satisfied after a follow-up tweet from B-Boy and my unreasonably large ego intact.
Watch Did I get 305 tomorrow, and I'm like, fuck.
Follow that claim with a 0, and that would be 100% accurate. Clearly, Nindide took numerous measures toward optimizing the category. He could even implement his mastery of any percent skills, especially in the first half of the run. 120 was gradually becoming a different beast. It increasingly became reliant on riskier strategies, combined with adequate luck conditions. Nindide would go on to dominate any percent, and I went back to the drawing board in 120 shines. I developed a setup for a known accident that can occur when attempting honey skip, demonstrated in this May 2015 highlight from Deathline. It's actually possible to grab the blue coin behind this jelly while clipping into the tower. More importantly, without getting stuck in GBJ. It's high risk of getting stuck with low reward of 6 to 8 seconds. On October 15th, I narrowly lowered the record.
Odds and Ends, adventurer.
It's not a 304.
If you have any...
But it's something.
After a rough start of nearly a minute off my best pace comparison, I brought it back, but knew that I should definitely aim for at least a 304 before moving on. Furthermore, Shadow Mario 27 was once again on the cusp of world record. In other words, top 3 was flooded with 305s. The following week I clutched out a run with respectable early game, including Ramel Cycle.
YOLO. Super YOLO.
I did it! Oh my frick, dude. Reclaiming a healthy lead on the competition, I took another break from the category.
I can do all my work here without hunting for a single herb. If I never have
On
to
January
see the
19th,
wonders of nature
2017,
again, it won't be too
Psychonaut made a
soon.
groundbreaking forum post on speedrun.com. Back in 2015, Dan Salvato, famously known for speedrunning Yoshi's Story, created practice codes that included both level selection and position codes. Psychonaut updated these codes with additions like infinite lives, FMV skips, and dialogue skips. One update in particular would be paramount to 120 shines, disabling blue coin flags. This means that the blue coin counter will always remain at 0. A level containing blue coins can be practiced over and over again, without the hassle of resetting the console or pretend collecting the coins. As early as 2013, speculation began over how far 120 shines could be pushed.
I don't think sub 320 will happen anytime soon.
This theoretical best time gradually lowered by convenient increments of 5 minutes as the years went by. No, sub 3 is not possible. I gotta find at least a minute worth in these strats probably, because it'll happen someday, we just don't know how soon. The classic shitpost, is sub 3 possible, was actually beginning to look somewhat plausible. Psychonauter's codes were just one essential ingredient for pushing 120 shines to its limits. It would also require discovering a handful of small time sabers, and a lot of perseverance. This became a long-term goal of mine. Fetch 8763 developed faster pachinko machine movements, and the evolution of the pachinko level alone is pretty remarkable. What started as an impressive feat by simply getting every coin one at a time without dying, turned into cheating a bit to get some coins from the back, then including some extra hovering time savers, and then finally obtaining everything from the front with well-timed hovers. I adopted the fetch movement when I returned to 120 shines, as well as some other small time savers, like spraying this X while ledge grabbing to quickly get to the linked coin, and doing a double rocket store dive to barely reach the Pianta 8 cloud at the risk of a rogue fluff. Despite the new practice codes, 2017 got off to a slow start. Once again, Shadow Mario 27 was contending the record when he got a 304.44 on February 4th. But it took me another 2 months of grinding to set a pretty weak record of 304.11. 303 was honestly long overdue, and this run lost over a minute to luck on Pinna 2. What? It was also determined in late March that doing Pinna 2 Reds early would save 5 shine selection scrolls without adding any event cutscenes. In other words, 2 seconds. Another interesting use of the rocket nozzle came into play, rocket rollouts. They command fairly strict timing, and you must hold the A button during the rollouts to gain substantial height. This saves time in a handful of places, like Sandbird, Gelato Hundreds, and Bianco 8. It's basically a faster way to clear a large horizontal gap. I found a way to make a very obscure trick known as Kenny sliding useful. When traveling back to get a fruit to Yoshi in Bianco 100 coins, I initiate a Kenny slide on the steep slope under this wall, then do a rollout fruit throw at Yoshi. Pretty neat. With my lack of performance during this period, there was no doubt that Shadow Mario 27 would rise to the occasion. There were 3 distinct points I've mentioned throughout this video in which he was just shy of the record. He often dealt with inconvenient hurdles, like extensive hours working in his brother's food truck or experiencing hands pain from prolonged playing. But at last, SM27 would achieve a world record time of 3:03:40 on May 11th.
I know, this is long overdue.
A common theme in the rivalry between Shadow Mario and I is that he typically had substantially better early game than me. No, seriously, take a look at this comparison to his PB versus the actual world record. I kept up the pace by coming a few
Cooking
frames
is a
short of tying
lifelong
SM27,
pursuit, and I see we
but the
share the
following
same
day,
passion.
Shadow Mario lowered his time by 13 more seconds. He even had a death on Sandbird and Rico 4 Reds.
Yeah, if I didn't die, it would have been 301.
This may be shocking to you, but SM27 is to Mario Sunshine as Puncation is to Mario 64, in that he's a bit of an anime head. Now gather around, children, as I recall a very important time in Mario speedrunning history, when the war on anime was won. Puncation sniped the 120-star record in Mario 64 at 0200 hours on June 3rd. The anime nation was in full force, having captured the 100% records in their respective games. But lo and behold, the Red Baron of Trinidad, Chizo 5, fired back with a 139.28 and 120 star at the tail end of the same day. And this news was rallied to my stream as I was 2 hours into a promising attempt at 120 shines. I faced some hardships, but on this historical day, 3D Mario speedrunning was saved from the anime overlords. Bible Thumb 7. Okay, seriously, how did I survive that? I pulled off a riskier ending to Corona Blues, originally theorized by Paperario. Something else that Paperario actually used, but was criminally overlooked until Kenny Cola brought it up one day, was a 4-second time saver in the return to airstrip. The last U-turn of coins can be cut out by precisely weaving between the buoys. Zapiku made a task of Serena 8 that included a new way of clipping through the wall, bananaless. An eventual speedrun friendly method was developed and showcased in an individual level run from Fetch. It uses a hover cancelled camera storage to grab the lock's doorknob from the other side. Shadow Mario 27 found yet another improvement to Noki Bay 100 coins that involves backtracking through one of the tunnels. It should go without saying, but life-changing runs can come out of seemingly nowhere, and when they do, it's pretty magical. This run was so ahead of its time that he not only skipped 302, but nearly skipped 301 in the process.
So that just happened. That was an amazing run.
He even faced an extremely trollish fluff during Pianta 8. I'd be damned if there exists any better evidence that anime splits make you faster. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, Shadow Mario would lead the cause toward this category's most highly sought milestone. The feasibility of a 259 escaped the realm of theoretical into possible. However, it would require a pretty stoic mentality, brushing off mistakes, mental endurance, and facing the pressure of once-in-a-blue-moon pace. More improvements surfaced, like a better setup for GBS coconuts originally seen in Yamata's 303-33. He used a short hover to pop the other coconut up to him. The first coconut was thrown to a slightly different location, from which a calculated throw would place it in an ideal spot to perform GBS. Bianco Episode 8 quickly evolved over the span of a few weeks, with a combination of findings from Shadow Mario, Nindide, Sighted Williams, and myself. Yamata flaunted his ability to quickly adapt by coming 5 seconds off the record on September 8th.
世界終盤早っ。世界終盤早っ。
With competition in close proximity, Shadow Mario quickly responded with a new record a few days later. Better Sandbird entrance, exceptional Pinna 8, and in a sudden twist of events, when attempting to revisit Rico 2 for the hidden blooper race shine, an accidental Rico 3 re-entry, nearly 30 seconds lost to a miss menu, but ultimately, a new world record and the first 3 flats.
If this was 327, I probably would have taken a break.
Contents with the lower 3 flats. A reasonable statement in the heat of the moment, but awfully hard to believe. Unfortunately, Shadow Mario began experiencing health issues. Focusing on a CRT screen began to induce seizures and headaches. Consequently, he had to take an extended break from SMS. Yamata also gave up on 120 shines, so now, it seems like the onus of 259 was entirely on me. At the last possible moment of 2017, I finished a run of 301.25. Failing to meet my arbitrary deadline, I continued playing to also prepare for a marathon run at the upcoming AGDQ 2018. Shadow Mario did, however, make a gradual return to 120 shines in late November. He considered investing in some gunners to help minimize headaches, but opted for some readily available yellow-tinted glasses instead. Apparently the glasses helped tremendously, and he was able to successfully work his way back into doing attempts on a regular basis. 2018 rolls around. In case you haven't noticed, my greatest rival also holds the name of Mario Sunshine's antagonist. From my perspective, this couldn't have been more fitting. The stakes were high, and it was truly an all-out battle. Shadow Mario and I finally included a trick that's actually been known for years, referred to as the DeLorean. It's possible to skip talking to the Chuckster by using a precise banana clip. It's called the DeLorean because of how Mario instantly warps to the floor when this clip is performed. Winter break ended, free time was becoming increasingly scarce, but I never fully gave up hope, and knowing that my 301.25 had an extraordinarily bad King Boo with 7 extra cycles is what mainly kept me going. Allow me to run you through my gameplay and my feelings during the run of my life. Every attempt starts out the same way, going in blind with the thought that it could be the run, but never actually expecting it to be the run. Expecting to PB is only setting yourself up for disappointment. It's been said that a 120 shine run doesn't truly begin until Pinna 2. The run had some semblance of potential. I had my best pace ever coming out of Rico, and the nerves really began to set in. I knew the implications. This is always an interesting situation. It's like, I know I gotta do it, man. I avoided many of my PB's mistakes. The fruit machine was relentless, and what was an amazing run was suddenly in dire straits. The Durian came after 7 tries. The chances of breaking 3 were dicey. A 2:59.57 best possible time, the odds were not in my favor. Now I have to do fast Corona, and I had to not get killed by Bowser. It came down to Bowser, which, guess what, has a random chance of 3-second time loss between hitting each blast zone. The green goop in the tub erratically splashes onto the stage, and all I could do was pray that it wouldn't hit me. Well, it must have been destiny, because I, Average Trey, somehow pulled it off. Yes! Fuck yeah, dude. I simply refused to let sub 3 slip away to a fruit machine. Despite knowing that I had the potential, I definitely didn't expect to snipe Shadow Mario 27. At the end of the day, it's never a matter of who seems to deserve a record more, but whoever can clutch out what few opportunities they get. Shadow Mario got burnt out shortly after and shifted his focus to other categories. 259.58 is currently where the record stands, but is 120 Shines dead? Hell no. Sooner or later, we may see a push further into sub 3 territory from Nanashi, a Japanese player who came merely 2 seconds off the record about 2 months before the release day of this video. Some future routing ideas are still on the table. This includes what I like to call Jelly Skip 2.0, proposed by Sidon Williams, in which you rocket into the blue coin from below, then rocket into Pianta Village for a much faster level re-entry. Combine this with the original Jelly Skip, plus a lily pad secret entry from Flooded Delfino, and this would cut out the Yoshi movement around Delfino Plaza entirely. Shadow Mario figured out that a previously known soft lock wouldn't soft lock as long as you're fast enough. I'm referring to collecting the beach shine immediately after landing the final hits on the Gelato Piranha plant. Perform this too slowly, and the game will soft lock. And so, that's pretty much how the history of 120 Shines unfolds. Only time will tell what the future of this category holds. From an origin shrouded in mystery and innovation, to skillful players trading records on periodic rotation, 120 Shines still has room to grow and is far from dead, as knowledge of new discoveries and developments goes widespread. This category isn't reserved to some SMS elite, but to any speedrunner wanting something a bit more complete. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I've been Average Trey. Peace.
I'm out of range. It's too far away.
Ocarina of Time has quite the reputation as a game. In fact, Metacritic would have you believe that it's the greatest game of all time. And as it turns out, many would also have you believe that it's the greatest speed game of all time. Now that may or may not be true, I don't know, but I do know that it has one of the most fascinating histories of any speed game. In addition to being the second most popular game on speedrun.com, OOT is well known for the huge variety of glitches that have continued to redefine how this game is ran time and time again, across all of its categories. But this video will mainly focus on any percent. Before we get started, I'd like to thank Summoning Salt for giving me the AOK to go ahead with this video, as inspired by his World Record Progression series. Alright, first of all, let's quickly discuss how this game is intended to be beaten. You start the game as Child Link, and you each rewarding you with a stone. With all 3 stones in hand, you can obtain the Master Sword and become a Dolphin. Now you have 5 more dungeons to face. The Forest Temple, the Water Temple, the Temple, and Spirit Temple, all rewarding you with a medallion. The Shadow and Spirit Temples are supposed to be the final 2 to be beat, so the game has a checking mechanism in the Shadow and Spirit medallions. When these are collected, you can trigger the Light Arrow cutscene, which pretty much marks the end. In the Light Arrow cutscene, you get given the Light Arrows, needed to and then head over to Galen's Tower to play the game. Now let's take a look at how all of these have slowly but surely. OOT's story begins with the good old Twin Galaxies forum, a speedrun and high score website. Nowadays, this site is often overlooked and even mocked by modern speedrunners due to its more traditional mindset and, well, controversies, but it certainly holds a lot of important history. On the 31st of March 2003, a very, very excited poster lets the world know about a new remarkable run of Ocarina of Time. Gamer Michael Damiani, who hails from Texas in the USA, has set a blistering pace of 6 hours, 45 minutes and 17 seconds from start to finish and takes the place of first on the board at this time. The run didn't use any form of major glitches and finished the game in the same way as I've previously described. If such a time was set today, it would probably be laughed at, but it was no joke when it was set. The runner, Michael Damiani, also known by his screen name TSA, was the dominating force of Ocarina of Time for a number of years. Until 2005, TSA brought its time lower and lower, making use of some minor tricks. Even back then, players were helping each other out in forums to bring the time as low as possible. For instance, in this comment, Samson tells TSA about a strategy to quickly get the boss key in the Spirit Temple, which TSA went on to use in his 5 hour and 4 minute run. It's also worth pointing out that many glitches were often quickly banned by Twin Galaxies, putting players like TSA off from using them. A lot of glitches were known way back in the 90s, which we can see in this Game FAQs guide from 1999. For instance, here's a bottle duplication, which was quickly banned by TSA. TSA even went as far as to ban this glitch in the Shadow Temple, that doesn't even exist. They couldn't be bothered to verify that this glitch actually worked before banning it. Anyway, back to TSA. He gained elaborate fame and some media attention. Here's an MTV article from 2005. For Texas's Mike Daniel, 22, the outer limit is the 5-hour mark on the 1998 Nintendo 64 game The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. To conquer the game by that mark requires sustained focus. You can't be perfect at this game for 5 hours, he said. Some mistakes are going to slip in. Well, wise words from Mr. Damiani there. As for Damiani's efforts to break the 5-hour barrier on Zelda, he estimates he's played Ocarina of Time for 10,000 hours, training more than 3 weeks at a time to pull off a single run, throwing controllers and cursing when he dies in the last minutes of an attempt, and tends to go without food on the day of a run. Well, if that paragraph is true, Mr. Damiani here definitely puts any modern speedrunner to shame in terms of dedication. Well, almost. The article ends with Michael's mother chiming in, who can't believe that her recently graduated son is making TV news about his speedruns. I said to him, "You're graduating, you have a degree, can't you get a real job out of this?" Unfortunately for Michael and his mother, he was never able to make his millions from his alleged 10,000 hours of OT gameplay. In fact, it would be 7 years until any speedrunner would have just and by that time, Michael Damiani was looking at gameplay. But I digress. He ended his OT career with his final world record. It should be noted that this run isn't below 5 hours by the widely accepted timing method today. Back then, most runners were starting their timer after the intro cutscene is over, but nowadays most people time from the initial file select. TSA may have left his mark on OOT as well, but back to the graphics. So who'd be the first glitch hunter to really make their mark on OOT and change how the game is run? Look no further than a Crite. In 2005, a Crite discovered what could be considered the first major skip in OOT, Trial Skip in Ganon's Castle. This video from Cheezo Man demonstrates a Crite's discovery. By using this almost, you can perform an acute angle clip through the wall and then access a loading zone from out of bounds, skipping the bulk of Ganon's Castle. This glitch was actually known about when TSA performed its 457 run, but at the time, SDA didn't allow out-of-bounds glitches, so TSA didn't make use of it. Despite this, in February of 2006, Mitijitsu, also known as AKA, became the first person to beat TSA with a run of 4 hours, 40 minutes and 32 seconds. This run was not considered to be the same category as TSA's runs, because it made use of a Crite's trial skip using out of bounds. Sadly, nothing seems to be left of this run besides some dead file front links, but anyway, much credit to a Crite for being the first person to start paving the path forward in OOT's major skip.
Fuck!
But actually, this wasn't much compared to what another pair of glitch hunters were about to find. Let's turn our attention to the Zelda Chaos website, which documents glitches and was founded in 2001. In 2005, a glitch called Gerudo Child was submitted to the website by 2 users going by the name MN and AT. The glitch involves using a bomb to damage boost past the Gerudo Gate, allowing you to get to the Gerudo Fortress early as a child. Now by itself, this was not a very useful glitch, but a user called Mochox on the SDA forum discovered 2 more glitches in late 2005 that made this very useful. He explained how it was possible to enter the Haunted Wasteland early as childling, using this out-of-bounds trick. From here, you can cross the quicksand with this backwalk trick. And what all of this ultimately means is that you can access the Spirit Temple early, which, if you recall, is supposed to be one of the final 2 dungeons. Before we proceed any further, who exactly were these mysterious players MM and AT? It turns out MM is Morima Stonen from Finland, also known by his screen name Kazooie, and AT is Library, whose real name is unknown. Kazooie made his first post on the Speed Demos Archive forum on February 28, 2006. The following month, on the 20th of March, Kazooie posted that he had refined his Gerudo Child trick, finding a way to do it without bombs, instead making clever use of the Cuckoo. This trick became known as Cuckoo Jump. To perfectly complement Spirit Temple Early, Kazooie posted another big discovery on the 3rd of March 2006. This time, Shadow Temple Early. A damage boost from a bomb is used to access this high up area around the graveyard. You can then walk across this seam until you get up close to the Shadow Temple entrance. From here, Mitijitsu discovered that you can side hop down to the Shadow Temple entrance, and the physical door to the temple will not load in, meaning you can just walk straight inside. The smart ones out there will have already picked up on the implications of these two glitches. Since the game only checks for the Shadow and Spirit medallions, you can skip completing the previous 3 dungeons by glitching to the Shadow and Spirit Temple early. Mitijitsu was the first person to discover this 3 days after Shadow Early was found, and it was with these new discoveries that the Japanese first got their hands on the OOT record. Runs with this new major skip route were commonly referred to as 5 boss edition runs within the Japanese community. A Japanese player known as 7 Blanks set 3 records with this route. This archived Japanese page documents his world record times, which he took as low as 2:51.54 in January 2007. Honestly, I can't read this page, so I'm going to let Google Translate work its magic and see what it can do for me. Well, I suppose it's not too bad. Google Translate interprets this page about as well as a weaver does. The same story goes for this page, which gives a commentary on the run. But if you can read Japanese, then feel free to give this a read. Believe it or not, by the time 7 Blanks took the world record for Japan with Shadow and Spirit Early, another even more broken route had already been theorised by a Krite 6 months prior, a route that could have been faster. So what is this route and why was nobody using it? Let's take a look at the video a Krite uploaded on the 27th of July 2006 and see what he discovered. The video starts with a Krite showing his inventory. Nothing interesting about it at the moment, but we'll get back to it later. The first thing you'll notice is that a Krite has a bottle on the B button. Interesting, because usually the B button is only used for swords. He then puts down the Master Sword to become Child Link, then immediately picks it back up again to become Adult Link. Suddenly, he has the light arrows on the B button, despite never obtaining the light arrows before. By obtaining the light arrows early, you can skip the Shadow and Spirit medallions as well as the light arrow cutscene. But how did a Krite do that? This glitch is known as Bottle Adventure, and it was originally discovered by Kazooie and Library. Bottle Adventure is a somewhat complicated glitch, and I don't want to go too far into the technicalities of how complex glitches work, but I will give you a simplified explanation. Bottle Adventure, or BA, allows you to manipulate Link's B button and put items onto it, even items you've never collected before. The first step to start Bottle Adventure is getting a bottle onto the B button. Doing this takes a few steps. Firstly, you have to go to the fishing minigame, which puts the fishing rod onto the B button. Then you have to perform this glitch with the hover boots, which lets you steal the fishing rod and keep it even after you leave the minigame. To skip past some technicalities, you can then pause and unpause the game after climbing this ladder, and a Deku stick will be placed onto the B button. Now you can perform a bottle duplication glitch to duplicate a bottle over the Deku into B. And now you have a bottle on the B button. The next step in Bottle Adventure, the critical part, is to go backwards in time and forwards in time again, as you saw in a Krite's video. When you go forwards in time, the game checks adult Link's equipped bottles and updates them because their contents may have changed whilst you were playing as child Link. But the developers never expected you to have a bottle on the B button, so the game is not properly programmed to update bottles that are on the B button. What ends up happening is that the game looks at child Link's C right button. Whatever is on C right will point to somewhere in Link's inventory. In a Krites video, you can see that he has fish on C right, and the fish points to the Deku Nut count. A Krite has 18 Deku Nuts, and 18 is OOT's internal value to represent light arrows. So when the game tries to update Link's bottle on B, it ends up updating with the value of light arrows. Who would have thought it? Theoretically get the light arrows early, then access that to have with another and finish the game without the experiment. The main reason nobody's tried any of this route lies within the fishing minigame. This hover boots glitch to steal the fishing rod only works on version 1.0 of the game, and SDA banned version exclusive glitches at the time, so nobody was trying runs with this route. And interestingly enough, the same problem occurred again at OOT's next major breakthrough in April of 2007, when a Krite posted that he finally understood reverse bottle adventure. Reverse bottle adventure is similar to bottle adventure, but it's a little bit different. It allows you to break the game even more, and it doesn't require moving backwards or forwards in time. Bottle adventure allows you to write items onto the B button. Reverse bottle adventure allows you to write items directly into your inventory. Here's a quick example to demonstrate how this works. In this clip, I have a bottle on B and I have the lens of truth on C right. When I drop the bugs in my bottle, the game will try to update the bottle in my inventory, but it isn't properly programmed to update bottles on the B button. It ends up looking at the value of my item on C right, in this case the lens of truth. The lens of truth happens to point to slot 15 in the inventory, which is the slot for the Megaton hammer. So after I drop my bugs, you'll see that a bottle has been written over the Megaton hammer slot. On the 26th of April 2007, Krite discovered the most broken Funnily enough, it's broken Goron sword. And Krite makes full use of his caps lock to let us know how important it is. When I perform reverse bottle adventure with the broken Goron sword on C right, the broken Goron sword will actually point to the medallion section of my inventory. So all I have to do is catch the bugs in my B bottle whilst broken Goron sword is on C right, and boom, the forest, water, shadow and spirit medallions have all been written into my inventory. I've kept these explanations as short as possible for the video. If you want a more detailed explanation, I'll have some links in the description. Anyway, back to the graphic. It now looks more like this. I mean, you still have to obtain the shadow and spirit medallions, but as soon as you get the rest of the things, you just write them directly into your inventory. But of course, there's still the problem of the fishing rod glitch being version 1.0 only. Well, that is until this young man posted this video on YouTube on the 12th of September 2007. I'm not sure I can forgive this video. So here's a better quality version instead. Instead of using the hover boots, you can dive near the edge of the water and cast the rod just as you pop out. You'll then be able to steal the rod on any version, and you don't need to go out of the way to get the hover boots. As you imagine, this opened the floodgates for a wave of people. But before we get to the next records, there's something else we must discuss. Looking at the graphic, it's pretty clear to see two major bottlenecks still present in the route, or route as I should say, being English. But anyway, firstly, you still need to collect the light arrows in one way or another to kill Ganondorf. And also, you still need to collect the 3 stones before obtaining the Master Sword. The Door of Time here is the big pesky door that blocks you off from the Master Sword until you obtain the 3 stones first. For many years, skipping this door was somewhat of a holy grail of OOT speedruns, due to how major of a skip it would be. You certainly can't hover over the door with the bomb hover glitch. No conventional methods of clipping this door. And no matter how many migraines you give Link from bonking his head on the door, you'll never get past it. But on the 22nd of March 2008, this video to YouTube. He discovered that with the correct angle, you can side hop and clip straight through this corner of the door. Of course, This isn't enough to skip past the game time, because Lincoln goes down into the hole. But it was a start. Over the following days, the OOG was frantically looking for a way to use this to skip past the goal. And finally, on the 27th of March 2008, Mitijitsu uploaded this video to YouTube, Temple of Time Skip. I must say, of all the glitches we've seen so far, this one makes me question that 99 rating the most. Nintendo's biggest barrier had been defeated with effectively a well-angled side hop. But to be fair, it did hold the glitch hunters back for a decade. But whatever. Now the route is a lot shorter. Perform the Door of Time skip, get the broken Goron swords while being the medallions, and then get the light arrows and finish the game. It was with this route that a lot of the more recognisable faces today in 2017 first got their hands on the record. Mainly ZFG, SBA, and Cosmo Wright. Just at this point I must point out that the legendary Cosmo Wright has since transitioned and is now known as Narcissa Wright. But for the purposes of this video, I'll be using the name Cosmo because all of the relevant events and video clips are from before the transition. Anyway, during this period, ZFG set the final world record on the US version of the game on the 16th of June 2011. It seems that after this point, players had taken notes from the Japanese runners and saw just how much faster the Japanese version is. If you're unaware, the Japanese version of OOT has much faster text, simply because it takes less symbols to create sentences in Japanese. This can save minutes throughout the course of the game. One notable world record run from this time is this 35:36 on Zakio, 23rd October 2000. Which we've already got more than 1 hour. Zakio is not well known these days, but he was prominent in 2011 and 2012. This run was thought to be so good in both gameplay and luck that many people suspected that it was spliced.
This is just insane because, okay, I have 2 hearts and I want 2 hearts. I get this heart. For the uninitiated, splicing is a method of cheating the speedrun by editing artificially creates one full run, and then passing it off as a real-time speedrun. To this day, there's no hard evidence that Zakio ever cheated any of his runs. But whilst we're on the topic of cheaters and splices, there's another very interesting event that also occurred in 2011. Remember that guy TSA from the start of the video? The god of OOG speedruns from the mid-2000s? Well, on the 28th of March 2018, SBA posted that they'd removed all of TSA's classic games from the website. Upon review of TSA's runs, it's pretty clear to see a lot of splices, like this one, where the music clearly cuts forward in the middle of a loading transition. The little rat. In fact, there are so many splices throughout TSA's runs that they fall apart like a cheap suit under a bit of scrutiny. But according to SDA, the verifiers of those runs couldn't have been reasonably expected to catch the cheating. Not sure if I can agree with that one, but either way, SDA's big verified no cheating definitely doesn't seem to be as credible as the capital letters would suggest. By the way, if you want to learn more about cheating in speedrunning, make sure to check out the previous video on my channel. So, with all of these big skips now in the run, was it possible to break the game any further? Well, I'm sure you can guess the answer to that. On the 8th of February 2012, Zakio achieved a 54:02 run. This would be the final record ever set with the reverse bottle adventure route, as a new major discovery was lurking just around the corner. On the 19th of February 2012, ChristianF23 posted 5 videos to the Zelda Speedruns forum that were not immediately relevant to any percent. These videos all show the same glitch, but each video demonstrates the glitch at a different temple. Let's take a look at one of the videos. This video begins with Christian at the very end of the water temple.
He's next to the blue warp that warps Link outside of the dungeon after you've completed it. Usually, you lose control of Link as soon as you step into the warp, but Christian doesn't just step in the normal way. As you can see, he backflips. In midair, he then presses C down to activate the bottle, followed by B to activate the sword. This triggers a glitch called Ocarina Items, or OI, which makes Link play his sword as if it were the ocarina. When you perform OI on a blue warp, you can maintain control of Link even after the warp is trying to take you away. Christian takes advantage of this. He pulls a bomb and dies at the same time. When he respawns, he has successfully skipped the cutscene that usually plays after entering a blue warp. But Christian posted 4 other videos of him showing the same glitch in other dungeons, right? Let's check some of them out. Here's the Shadow Temple version. He performs a Y on the warp, dies at the same time it tries to take him away, and successfully skips the cutscene. Alright, one more. Performs a Y on the warp, dies at the same time it tries to take him away, successfully skips the... Wait, what? When performed in the Fire Temple, this glitch only skips the cutscene, but also warps to a completely different area of the map. In this case, the forest. This is the initial discovery of the famous wrong warp. But why does this glitch occur? And why did it only work in the Fire Temple? Time for a quick explanation. In OOP, there is something called the entrance, as you see here. This is simply a list of every possible entrance to every area in the game. When a blue warp takes you away, it references this table by setting a base entrance value. The base entrance value is essentially the value of the next area to take Link to. But when you die, the base entrance value is overwritten with the value of your respawn destination, which is at the start of the dungeon. So, by dying at the same time a warp takes you away, you overwrite the base entrance value to the warp set and skip the cutscene. So, what makes the Fire Temple any different from other temples? What makes it trigger the wrong warp glitch rather than just another cutscene skip? The Fire Temple's blue warp wants to take you to Kakariko Village, so it sets the base entrance value to Kakariko Village. But in this case, the game doesn't just want to take you to Kakariko, it wants to take you to a special version of Kakariko that is specially designed for the cutscene that will play there. In order to do this, the game sets another value, called the scene setup value. In the Fire Temple, this value is 7. These two values add together to create one final value, which is where Link will warp to. In the case of the Fire Temple, this is the special version of Kakariko Village, designed to play this cutscene. Now let's put this all together and look at what happens when you perform the wrong warp. By dying, you overwrite the base entrance value with your respawn destination, which is the start of the dungeon. So 7 is added to the value of the start of the dungeon. In this case, this creates a final value of 016C in hex. If we look at the entrance table, this is the value of the Forest Temple. So the game ends up warping us to the Forest Temple. What's most incredible about this is that dying isn't the only way to overwrite the base entrance value and trigger a wrong warp, as demonstrated by this video from Exodus on the 20th of February 2012. Instead of dying, Exodus uses a spell called Aurora's Wind, which allows you to set a custom warp point. You'll notice that he has the spell on the B button via Bottle Adventure. This is important because otherwise the spell can only be placed inside dungeons. After setting his warp point in Lon Lon Ranch, Exodus enters the Fire Temple's blue warp, but casts Aurora's Wind to go back to his custom warp point at the same time. This sets the base entrance value to Lon Lon Ranch, which the game adds 7 onto, triggering a new wrong warp. This is the result. A wrong warp directly into the credits, cutting out the final major bottleneck, the light arrows. Finally, this game seemed completely solved. When this was found, I'm sure a Crite was bashing his skull against the wall, because he came tantalisingly close to discovering this 3.5 years earlier. Here's a video from a Crite from the 27th of December 2008. If only he had bothered to test this in the Fire Temple, he would have discovered wrong warping way back then. But oh well. ZFG led the charge to optimise the game with this new route. Here's a clip from the end of his 51-53 run, set 2 days after the initial credits warp discovery, but using a modified method found by Sockfolder. As you can see, he performs the credits warp from Dodongo's Cavern rather than the Fire Temple. It turns out that the 3 child dungeons can also be used for wrong warping, because they too set the scene setup value. Now, I'm sure some people out there will be skeptical about this whole credits warp thing. Is it really beating the game if you just warp directly into the credits? You don't even need to see the final boss. These issues were being discussed back then in 2012. Ultimately, the credits warp was accepted as a valid method of beating the game, but not everyone fully agreed. However, these disagreements would not need to last long. People have been saying for many years that they think OOT is finally solved, that they don't expect any more major discoveries to come. No doubt many people were thinking that at the time of the credits warp discovery, but it couldn't be further from the truth. The full potential of the wrong warp was yet to be discovered. In mid-April 2012, Rob Dog was looking through the entrance table when 2 very interesting entries caught his attention, 252 and 256. 252 is the Deku Tree basement, part of the first dungeon in the game. It refers to this door, which is in the very same room as the Blue Warp. The next entry, 256, is the Tower Collapse Interior, part of the final dungeon of the game. As previously mentioned, the Deku Tree is hidden in the wrong door, so theoretically, if you enter this door, the game would add on the necessary value to hit the Tower Collapse Interior. This theory was tested by Sockfolder, and sure enough, it worked. Doing this is even faster than the credits warp. You don't even need to become Adult Link at all with this route. On the 14th of April 2012, ZFG became the first person to complete a full run of OOT without ever becoming an adult, using this new wrong warp.
I got it. Here we go.
One concern about this wrong warp is that by using it you skip collecting the Master Sword, which is required to deal the final blow to Ganon. But luckily enough, Ganon knocks the Master Sword out of your hand at the start of the fight, despite never actually obtaining it, and then you can pick it up to deal the final blow.
And now I have the actual Master Sword as child. With the Adult Links, oh, done. That was like 35:12. The very first beating Ocarina of Time as child on console without cheats, ever.
The fact that you're given the Master Sword like this is so much of a coincidence, and so perfect for the heavily glitched route, that it almost feels like it was by design. As a matter of fact, so does the entrance table containing the first and last dungeon right next to each other. If this didn't happen purely by chance, the wrong warp glitch to Ganon's castle never would have worked. Anyway, looking back at the graphic, I'm not even going to bother updating this old one, let's just bring a new one in. It now looks more like this. All you need is to collect a bottle, and then go to the Deku Tree so that you can use it to perform the wrong warp. After wrong warping, you need to go through the Tower Collapse sequence, which takes a few minutes, and then beat the final boss. By this point, the game had been absolutely destroyed, and the race was on to optimise the category. One perceptive player called Choco Pop-Tart seized his opportunity to quickly claim a free world record, and he secured his place in OOT history. But he was promptly beaten again by ZFG on the same day. ZFG then traded the record with SVA, and Cosmo Wright.
Boom! New world record.
But ZFG ended his any percent career after this 21:45 run on the 7th of March 2012. SVA also stopped playing it seriously, and so did Cosmo Wright. Well, until he did. Over the next 1.5 years, all of the optimization was done by Macro actually made an estimator, which gave him a slight disadvantage, slower loads and more frame rates. He was the first player to ever hold the record until the 28th of October 2012. During the following period, 2 more glitches were found that made significant changes to the route, but also made it significantly harder. Both were found by a glitch hunter called Glitches and Stuff. The first was found on June 10th, 2013. Here, Glitches and Stuff shows that it's possible to skip most of the lengthy tower collapse sequence by falling down the tower and hitting into a loading zone. This method was not viable for humans, but Sockfolder discovered a method for humans. Sockfolder showed that you can use a frame-perfect trick to gain super speed from a falling rock. This is called a HAS, and it's usually done with bombs, but as we don't have bombs, a rock has to do as a substitute. With the correct angle and positioning, you can then clip through the railing and fall down into the loading zone below, saving close to 2 minutes. But this trick is by no means easy, and it became the most notorious in the run, for being a big run killer right at the very end. This trick is known as Void Warp, because you void out at the same frame as hitting the loading zone, which is why Link appears out of bounds after the loading transition. The other relevant discovery, also from June 2013, is this frame-perfect backflip to clip outside of the boss room whilst fighting Goma. This strategy skips some backtracking, but it takes a lot longer to kill Goma. Overall, it saves around 7 seconds. After 1.5 years of domination from Hydoix and Macaron, a familiar face finally took the record back, Cosmo Wright, with a 1915 run.
1915.
But there was actually something particularly unique about this run. Notice the text? It's actually Chinese text, not Japanese. This record, from the 22nd of August 20 FPS slowdown in intensive areas. Cosmo was the first one to make the time investment required to take the record. He estimated that the IQ saved around 13 seconds over the Wii Virtual Console. However, the game was not yet that optimized that the IQ was required to take the record. This was demonstrated by a Virtual Console player, Skater82297, when he took his first untied record on the 19th of February 2014. Unfortunately, he just missed out on the elusive sub-19 due to a missed final slash. But at this point, the game was looking close to extremely optimized. An insane run was looking like it would be around the 1845 mark. And in early 2014, during a drunk stream, Cosmo Wright let his fans know that he had his eyes on the insane time.
Ocarina of Time, I will go for the fucking 1845. That's right, 1845. So I'm gonna fucking grind that shit out. I'm gonna get fucking 1845 on the IQ and fucking kill that fucking category. Kill that shit, man. Kill that shit. Fucking king of Ocarina of Time, baby. I'm gonna do that shit.
But nobody could have expected what was to come. Cosmo began his grind, and it only took 1 month for him to take the record, with the first sub-19 on the 17th of March 2014. This run was not as good as Skater's 19-minute run in terms of the actual gameplay, but the IQ's advantage allowed Cosmo to take the record. This actually caused a bit of controversy. Some people weren't happy about Cosmo using the IQ, saying that it inhibits competition. But most people eventually came to terms with the fact that it's an official version, so it's absolutely fine to use.
Cool. This is sub-19 pace now. Alright, 1856. I can save 5 seconds escape. I can save 6 seconds Kakariko. I can save 2 seconds Goma. Actually, maybe more. And not much else. So I want to still get under 1845.
13 seconds to save and not much else, he said. But is that true? Cue the next group of optimizations. On March 25th, 2014, Bluebyblah uploaded this video. He showed a humanly viable method to skip past Mido, who usually requires the sword and shield to get past, as well as a lengthy conversation. 6 days later, on the 31st of March, GCTK24 uploaded a very interesting video showing a new any percent route that had been theorized. The route would make use of Mido skip to skip collecting the sword entirely until the very end. He estimated this to save 6 seconds, which actually turned out to be a bit more, but the requirement of the difficult Mido skip and a few other changes made this route much harder. And speaking of things that made the route much harder, there was another strategy also developed in early 2014, which Cosmo Wright mentioned in his drunk speedrun plans video shown earlier.
If in any random direction, which is based on the falling rock, I'm gonna figure out exactly what the percent chance is that you can do
Your persistence is commendable.
setup.
With the knowledge you helped me gather, Arugel will fall and his reckless magic shall be undone. Cheers to you, adventurer. Arugel still resides in Shadowfang Keep. We cannot claim Silverpine as a strategic stronghold for the Dark Lady until Arugel is slain. I shall see to it that his magic is eradicated, adventurer, but I leave it in your hands to see that Arugel meets the death he so deserves. Travel to Shadowfang Keep and put an end to Arugel's foul spells once and for all. Bring to me the vile wizard's head. The magic of the wizards dissipates, and the lake of our
according to and hits the void warp, sparing no time for a lengthy setup. I'll lower the volume because there's a lot of screaming in typical skater fashion. As this trick allows you to instantly clip through the railing and hit the void warp, it became known as instaclip. Cosmo referred to instaclip as a dice roll in the video I showed earlier, and it was for a while. He calculated that you have about an 8% chance of getting the correct angle from the rock in order to hit the void warp.
What?
Despite the low odds, Cosmo was the first person to hit this in a world record run in his 1851 from the 25th of March 2014.
Oh my god, it happened. That is insane. It fucking happened. 8% chance of that clip.
But Skater developed a consistent setup for instaclip. It involves targeting and untargeting Zelda on the correct frames while sliding down the tower. However, consistent doesn't mean easy. Anyone planning to implement instaclip and the new swordless route was giving themselves a huge challenge. A huge challenge that Cosmo Wright stood up to. He got the first record with the swordless route on the 19th of April 2014 in his 1840 run.
1840 on the dot.
His next record put Skater's instaclip setup to use, putting any doubts to rest about the viability of the difficult strategy.
This might work. Oh, baby!
And after his next improvement in 1829, Cosmo had his sights on one final time, an insane sub-1820 run, which he was on pace for on the 20th of July 2014. I'll let the run speak for itself.
What is it? Ah, good. These hands killed my wife, Dilia. Revenge for her murder was my only care. And you were the instrument of that revenge. Here, take the ring you returned earlier. Delia has been dead to me for so long, her ring is a bauble I no longer care to keep. Instead, I will keep these hands as a remembrance of my friend's betrayal.
It's over. Ocarina of Time is dead. Any percent is done. That's it. That's it. It's over. It's fucking over.
And ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of the video. No, just kidding, it's not over. But this run was incredible and truly raised the bar. The delta between Cosmo and Skater, who was in second place, was 40 seconds. This is a huge gap for a category as optimised as any percent, and Skater showed no interest in going for the record himself. So who would ever challenge this? Well, if we scroll down a bit, we come across a player in tied 11th place, Jodan Stone. Jodan may not be your expected candidate for the next OOT World Record speedrun competitor. He's a curling instructor, which is a sport by the way, and he's from Sweden, which actually has very few OOT runners. The first run that put Jodan on the map is his 1852 run from the 13th of August 2014. This time was actually set on emulator, which is around 15 seconds slower than the iCube.
Got it. Okay, that's good enough, I think.
He says that's good enough, I think, but as most speedrunners know by now, it's never good enough.
I suppose you are
His
here to be
next
trained in
improvement
the
was
use of a new weapon?
1838 on emulator,
Make it fast.
which,
I'm very
incredibly,
busy.
was actually set during a race. Fellow racer ZG Speedruns frantically tells
ready
Jordan
yet.
to get out of the Skype call to focus after he hits the instaclip.
I got it! Fucking hell! This is... Holy shit, that's the first
ready yet.
Dude! Oh my god!
But Joden's next improvement really let the world know that he was a serious record contender. An 1830 on emulator on the 7th of September 2014. After this one, Joden decided to purchase an iCube and start hunting the record. Over countless hours and thousands of attempts, he gradually lowered his time. Of course, there were many heartbreaking failures on the way to
I
the
can
top.
train you in first aid techniques.
Why did that not work, dude? The fuck, that was it, dude. That was it.
But Joden's Twitch audience grew rapidly over this period. Countless people came in to witness the one person who seemed capable of beating Cosmo. He could finally celebrate and relax when in the early hours of the morning on the 2nd of January 2015, Joden had this run.
Right, please work. I do it, dude, finally.
This was truly a great accomplishment, and Joden deserved all the praise he got for this run. It really was almost perfect, but unfortunately, with such little room left for improvement, the sub-18 mark looked impossible for any human. However, this is Ocarina of Time, so there's always a way. 1 month later, in early February 2015, a new glitch was found and researched by Skater, Glitches and Stuff, and MZX Rules. This glitch is called Get Item Manipulation, and it allows you to obtain a bottle even faster, which is a necessary item for the wrong warp. Let's take a look at this video from Sniping and see what happens. The video starts with Sniping in a crawl space. After he exits the crawl space, you'll notice that the camera is locked for a few seconds before it begins to follow Link again. Keep that in mind because it's important for the trick to work. Sniping then kills an enemy who drops a Deku Nut on the ground, but before picking up the Deku Nut, he enters the crawl space and exits it again to lock the camera. He then picks up the Deku Nut whilst the camera is still locked. When you run over an item, the game sets the get item value. This is essentially the value of the next item to give Link, so in this case, it is set to Deku Nuts. But Sniping then gets hit, and he is now free to move whilst the Deku Nut is still waiting to be collected. Now the game is stuck waiting to give Link the Deku Nut. This is called Get Item Delay. By the way, there's only a 12.5% chance that a Deku Nut drop will occur from this enemy. So unless you're the type of guy who likes to speedrun card games and randomizers, this makes the run very frustrating. Anyway, the next step in the glitch is to walk in front of this chest.
I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna go eat something. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll